Yo, what's good? It's your boy Super Johnny B 428K Sharp Johnny B 428K Johnny B, bro. Here with this video, and what we'll be talking about today is something I seen from somebody I watch on YouTube. His name is Alpha Omega Sin. Now, I'm a fan of Alpha Omega Sin. I like Alpha Omega Sin. Shout out to him. Check out his videos. It's pretty informative. Especially, I like how he does it off the rip. It seems like he don't even like write it down or take a picture or don't even give a fuck. Beside the point, though, I was watching his most recent video where he was talking about off of the success of the Super Nintendo Classic and the Nintendo Entertainment System Classic or NES Classic and SNES Classic. What happened if Nintendo made a N64 Classic or a Nintendo 64 Classic? Which had me thinking, the N64 is like one of my favorite systems that I ever owned. You know what I mean? So I was like, hey, why don't I just think of, games if they did that I would want to see on there. And now I want to disclose that this is my opinion and my opinion only. It's not like this is confirmed or not. I have no clue if they're confirming to do a N64 Classic, but the way that it's turning out, where last year it was the NES Classic and this year it's the Super NES Classic, I wouldn't be shocked if they bring out a N64 Classic. So, that's one. Number two, some of these games that I would want to see on the system, I honestly don't think would. Some of them I honestly don't think would be on the system, but that's because either companies working for different companies. Like, for example, which I'll get into later, Rare, who made Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and Donkey Kong Country. They're working for Microsoft, so 9 out of 10, that won't be on there, or maybe it would, I do not know. Or THQ, who made which I'll get into later, the WrestleMania 2000, and if I'm right, WCW versus NWO and No Mercy. It most likely won't be on there because that company was bankrupt. But more or less, this would be my opinion. And the third thing to this is that, honestly, this is not confirming if or if not they will make an N64 Classic. So, alright, let's get into it. First, starting off, Super Mario 64. Why? One, it was already shown as a tech demo. Two, because the tech demo was like 100 Marios running around on a 3D level to show the power of the N64. Three, it's a big-ass game that pushed the N64 when it first came out. Damn near everybody had Mario 64 if you had an N64. So, it's classic. Like, when you talk about Mario games and you want to talk about the innovative ones, you're bringing up Super Mario Bros. 2. You're bringing up Mario Galaxy, and 9 out of 10 Mario the water one for the GameCube, but 9 out of 10 that will be on that list is Mario 64. So that's why that would be my number one. Number two would be number 2 and 3, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Now, I didn't really like Majora's Mask as much as Ocarina of Time, but that's because, backstory, I own Ocarina of Time, played the shit out of it. Even got it for the N64, the 3DS, played it on emulators. Like, that was my game. But Majora's Mask, the first time I played it, I can technically say I didn't play it because, like, I borrowed it from a friend in school. And when I got it home, I didn't know that you needed the Rumble Pack just so you can play the game, like start the game. So I pop it in. I'm like, what's going on? Well, the game ain't working. He gave me a bullshit game. He gave me a broken game. And all of that, But really, it was, I didn't have the thing that you needed to play the game. So, that cost me. But I played it on an emulator and I enjoyed it. And I even played it on the 3DS and I enjoyed it. but it still wasn't better than Ocarina of Time for me. And I'll even admit the first stage where you have to do everything before the moon hit in like 3 hours. I failed that so many times it pissed me off. So yeah, it's a little biased, you could say, but all in all, I thought it was a good game and it deserved to be on the list. Number 4, Yoshi's Island. I love that game. I had it on the N64. First, I rented it from Best Buy, not Best Buy, for Blockbuster. If y'all remember Blockbuster, but I rented it from Blockbuster, played the crap out of it. That would be like one of the first games I binged when I had the N64 back then as a kid. It was always classic. Yoshi Island, Yoshi Story. Those were the shit. Number 5, 6, or if you have to pick one or the other, would be the WWF WrestleMania 2000 and Royal Rumble. I mean, not Royal Rumble, No Mercy. Cause come on, if you talk to any wrestling fan, 9 out of 10 on their list of greatest wrestling games of all time will be either one of those two or both. It had an extension roster. It had the creative wrestler like to its fullest at this time. When I'm talking about the roster, I'm talking about like names like Triple H, Rock, Stone Cold, big names like that you'll usually see in a wrestling game. But then it will also have, for that time, and mind you, this was when the Hardy Boys was just really getting booming in WWF. The Hardys, the Dudleys, Rhino, RVD when he first appeared. It was a nice roster set. You had Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Chris Jericho when he left WCW. And speaking on that, my 7th game will be WCW versus NWO, because that's another game that you will hear a lot of wrestling fans put on their list of greatest wrestling games of all time. It was classic. They separated the roster not just by WCW wrestler, but by WCW wrestler, NWO, Wolfpack NWO, the Four Horsemen. Like, everybody was extended, you know what I mean? Plus, it was pretty fun to have a 4-on-4 match, you know what I mean? Really pushed the N64 4 capability to its fullest extent. Thought that was dope. Another one, Bomberman. Bomberman has to make it. Not only it was in 3D, which was a first for the series, but it also had its classic top-down view. So it's like a 2.5 before 2.5s really was popping, where it played like the old Bombermans. You had 4 people on the stage trying to blow each other up. Top-down view, but they had the little 3D models, and it was fun. You know what I mean? It was fun. Another game that should be on the list is Killer Instinct Gold. Now, I know this was the weakest one out of all the Killer Instincts, even the one on the Xbox One. My personal opinion, it was the weakest. But still, that was kind of interesting going off of the next game I was going to say, Engine of, you know what I mean, a 2D fighting type style, but you can go up and down like Tekken would. You know how like when you play Tekken, you can go back for, but you can like sidestep and all that. That was kind of cool. And 3D models, 3D textures of it, it's kind of hot for a Killer Instinct. You can play with TJ Combo and Cinder and see them in 3D. It was pretty cool. The next one on the list is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 4. Now, my personal opinion, it wasn't the best one of, you know what I mean, of the Mortal Kombat series, but you gotta admit, for like its first time 3D fighter, they did a damn good job trying to try it out. That one, you had weapons that you could use, stage fatalities. The roster was meh, but still extended on to the story. With Shinnok and Quan Chi. Not only that, it freaking had Meat what's that dude, Dazim, or the one that looked like Meat, but um, it's like yo Meat, but Meat Plus, or with the little hammer. You know what I'm talking about? Um, let's see, another one I would say that should be on the N64 list is Super Smash Bros. You know that game was never supposed to be in America or Australia or Europe or whatever. It was only supposed to be a Japan exclusive. And another fun fact of that game, did you know it was known as Polygon Fighters? Like, it was supposed to be a totally different game, but then as a test to show off the powers of the game, they used, Pikachu, Mario, Link, and Donkey Kong, and showed them fighting on there, which branched off the Super Smash, which was a pretty damn good idea for a test game at that. Damn good idea. I'm actually happy they did it, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have got Melee, one of the greatest Smash games of all time. Brawl, people can hate, but I actually kind of enjoy Brawl. There was some features they could have done without, like the whole slip feature where you'll just be running out of nowhere and just slip. Like, they could have cut that out, but you know what I mean? Or the 3DS Wii U version, maybe even the Switch version. We would never have those, so you gotta give it up to the classic. Besides, for that time, that roster was pretty interesting. Like, who would have thought that you would have had Ness from Earthbound? They haven't even brought Earthbound over to America except Earthbound. They didn't bring over Mother 2 or 3. So, just to have, like a shout out to Earthbound, you gotta admit, that was pretty hot. You know what I mean? A lot of the characters I didn't even know about until then. Like, I didn't know about Ness. I didn't know about Captain Falcon, which gonna lead to my next game that should make the list. Cause when I found out about Captain Falcon, I played his game. It's pretty dope. I played his game on Super Nintendo through an emulator, and then I played the N64 version. Pretty hot. But I didn't know about that character. Which brings on to F-Zero. The racing game is pretty fun, fast paced. If you love like futuristic racing games like Wipeout, you would love that game. You know what I mean? Very good characters, very good multiplayer. So why not bring it back? And on that type of note, bring back Mario Kart. Mario Kart 64. If you play a Mario Kart game, you will love that game. It was fun for its time, fast paced, had a nice roster. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot. That's far enough. And it really showed, not like the Super Nintendo version of it where it's like, it's like a top, not top down. It was like the stages are flat, but it was 3D-ish. It actually was a 3D racing game, you know what I mean? So it was pretty cool. Another game that definitely should make it on the list is Star Fox 64. Come on. Why I say this should make it on the list, if you think about all the other Star Fox games that came out recently, Star Fox for the 3DS, Star Fox for the Wii U, pretty much is Star Fox 64. Just either updated graphics or updated, you know what I mean? Updated graphics, 3D graphics, maybe even like local gameplay, or with the Wii U, how you had the two functionalities. But pretty much it's Star Fox 64. So they kept going off of that. So, why not bring back the classic, Another game I feel as though should definitely be on the list is Mega Man 64. First time, actually, can you say it was the first time that you seen Mega Man in 3D? Because I know the PlayStation 1 had a Mega Man game in 3D where you see Tron and all that. It might even be that one. Cause I went and got it for my PS Vita. So pretty much it was a good idea though to have Mega Man in 3D and shoot in 3D and have to turn and all that. I thought the controls were clunky back then, but you know, still, why not bring it back? Another game I think should come back because it's very interesting, and honestly, if you even do it right, especially how like the with the HD graphics of the Super NES, because apparently you can use HDMI cord with the NES. I don't have a Super NES Classic or a NES Classic, so I don't know. I'm just going off of what I looked up and might have seen. But you have HDMI cord with them. Bring back Pokemon Snap. You know, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's not your typical Pokemon battle game or, you know, gotta catch them all, but it was unique. It was like you gotta catch them all, but in a unique way. It was, I gotta take a picture of all of them, you know what I mean? All 150, you get something. If you do get all 151, spoilers! But yeah, 151. One stage I like the most, which honestly I only seen one time where Mewtwo was on there. But the Mew stage I thought was hot because when I first played it, Mew was not really that known. Pokemon 1 kind of was like out, but not really. It was known about. So you knew about it was Mew versus Mewtwo, but they was doing the whole mystery. What is this new Pokemon? Where did this Pokemon come from? And it was Mew. So it was kind of cool where the next game I'm about to talk about was going to take the next 2 spots because I really think both of them should be there. But the first one of that game and this showing Mew and showing like some of the stuff from Mew. And to be honest, I didn't know how to beat that stage until like I played it on an emulator because, you know, when you play it, you can't take a picture of Mew. He'll try his hardest or she'll try her hardest to make sure you don't take a picture of it. But there's like a way you have to like throw fruit at her or something at it to break the little psychic shield and then you can get a picture of it. And it's like a quick second or it'll disappear. Like, it should be brought back. They brought a unique twist to Pokemon. And plus, on top of that, in the cartoon around that time, they were promoting that one guy who wanted to be a Pokemon photographer. So, you know, it brought a twist to him. Where you're playing as him instead of like Red, Blue, or Ash, if you want to call him Ash. Instead of playing as them, you're playing as that one guy with Professor Oak. So, the next 1 or 2 games, again, just like the wrestling games, I'm going to throw this one up there like that. Depends on you. But Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. Why? Because you got to admit, for a 3D game where you're battling Pokemon in the Pokemon League or the road to go against Mewtwo, that was dope. That was dope. Even Free Battle had mini games. I thought the mini games were fun. My favorite one was the Clefairy one, where you have Teacher Clefairy telling y'all to move, and it's like Simon Said and you hear Clefairy, Clefairy, Clefairy. That was hot. Another one I feel I haven't really played 2. I played a little bit of 2, but I didn't own 2. I wanted to. I played 2 on an emulator, so I can't tell you as much of 2, but I played the shit out of 1. That's one thing I can say. When me and my dad would hang out, that was one game that we will always play. And they brought good memories, so definitely 1 and 2. 2 mostly because of the simple fact that, you know, it had the 2nd gen Pokemon. It has your Ho-Ohs, your Lugias, your Wobbuffets, you know what I mean? It had your 2nd gen Pokemon, so that's why I threw that on the list. Another game that I do feel as though should definitely make it onto I'm not Super Nintendo, my bad. N64 Classic, if they make one, is Kirby 64. That was cool how they kept the 2.5 in it, and it was a side scroller. And you gotta admit, games like that, games like Yoshi Island, that was pretty damn cool. That, you know what I mean? Because around that time, with the N64, the PlayStation 1, a lot of games wanted to show off their 3D models, wanted to show off their, look, you could go all around, three-dimensional. They really emphasized on that more than they emphasized on their game, and made that a sell point. So it was pretty cool that you had games like Yoshi Island, which I don't know if I already said, or I mean Yoshi's Story, which I don't know if I already said, that should be on the list, or Kirby, where it was a side scroller. It kept this 2D model. The puzzles were interesting, the puzzles were fun, and plus you get to have two powers at once. So that was pretty cool, you know. Another game I feel as though that should be on the list of N64 games was Star Wars. What was it? It was the Star Wars games. The racing one and the first-person shooter one. Why the first-person shooter one? Mostly, not just because I had it, but because of the simple fact that was one of the titles, if I recall correctly, in its advertisement, that Nintendo was pushing, like, hey, we got this Star Wars game. Come get the N64 for this one Star Wars game. And it was pretty fun. You know what I mean? Another game that should definitely be on there is Harvest Moon. Because ain't nothing more relaxing than growing crops. And I thought it was pretty cool that you could harvest in 3D. So that's why I feel as though it was on there. It was pretty relaxing, pretty fun. Not only that, it was a pretty good game for an N64 game. Let's see, what else? A good game, I should say Superman 64. I'm just playing. Nah, Superman 64 definitely should not make that list. But, another game that my personal favorite that I feel as though should be on the list. Actually, there's two of them of the same class, so I don't know how you're going to feel about it. But one, what was it? 1080 Degrees. 1080 Degrees, the snowboarding game, because that was another sell point game, and that was actually fun if you want a simulated type of snowboarding game for the N64. And the other one, which was my favorite, Snowboarding Kids, because it was a cartoon version of a snowboarding game, and I thought it was so fun. For my young age, I had so much fun on it, trying to discover new things, new tricks. The characters was cool. So, if anything, that should definitely make the list. You know, Snowboarding Kids and 1080. This is another game that I don't know if would make it because of the developers. But if I had say, and I could say, yeah, put this on the list, I would say Blitz. NFL Blitz. Why? Because it's fucking NFL Blitz. That's why. Another game that I feel as though should make it. No, I wasn't going to say Madden, but another game that should make it because it was a good game, which I don't know would make it because Rare is working for Microsoft. It's a list of them. You have Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, the original GoldenEye. You know, the one with the guy with the hat. He throws the hat and it kills you in one shot when you play the 4-player multiplayer. Him. And Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong 64. Those games made the N64 what they were. GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, because they made the first-person shooter. When you hear a lot of people talk about first-person shooters back then, the games they always bring up is GoldenEye 007 and Perfect Dark, on how innovative Rare made them. So they should definitely make the list. And Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong 64 was another one of those games that, you know, put the N64 on the map as an exclusive. But like I said, I don't know if you're going to get that on an N64 Classic, because one, you know, the original Perfect Dark, since Rare owns it, it was on the Rare Replay, and you know that I don't know if it's a license agreement, I don't know if it's whatever it is, but the simple fact that you never see them promote or try to post Donkey Kong 64, but it's I'm talking about Nintendo, not Rare. I'm talking about Nintendo. But and also GoldenEye, I always hear about it, and I played it because my cousin had it. When I would go over to my cousin's house to play with them. You know, Super Bowl parties. We have game systems downstairs, music, chips, all that. You know what I mean? He had it, and I played with him. But there you go. And speaking on like movie, super spy type thrills, a game that should be on it, which 9 out of 10 won't be on it because it doesn't get that type of oomph, you know, that type of talk like GoldenEye did. Mission Impossible. Ain't nothing make you feel as freaking cool as when you go down the little like the part where in the original Mission Impossible when Tom Cruise did the little what the heck do you call that? When he was like going down with and he had to like dodge the laser traps, and then he like somehow he like slipped and fell, like not slipped and fell, but like was going super fast and he stopped at the last second, nose deep, like the trap was like right here, he was like right on it, and then trigger it. That was kind of cool in that game. So Mission Impossible, because they kind of brought that type of feel for a first-person shooter. That game should definitely make the list. Is there anything that I can't? Rampage. That's another one. Why Rampage? Even though Midway, just like with Mortal Kombat 4, is NetherRealm, so I don't know if they would do that with Mortal Kombat 4. But Midway Studios closed and all that. But why Rampage? Because it brought back a classic, and it didn't do it. It didn't do it in no like, oh, we're going to change it where now you can stomp around the city. They kept it the same old, 2D. You could climb up the building. They just remodeled everything. It was like its first remaster before remasters was popping, you know. So definitely Rampage should be on there. 9 out of 10, I'm missing some more because I can't think of any more, but that would be just pretty much some of the games I would want to see. You know, there are more to the list that I can't think of right now, but definitely that would be just some. The N64 was a darn good system. It was real good. Like, there's a lot of classic games. I won't say that the system was slept on because it was one of Nintendo's biggest success. But I would say now, thinking upon it, it doesn't get as much leeway as the original PlayStation or as, you know, the PS2. It definitely do get more leeway than the GameCube, which that's another system that I have some classics on that I would love if they remade. But, you know, it's the N64. You have to love that system. If you don't, you know what you can do. Alright, y'all. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment. Let me know what list that you have for if you had a N64 Classic that you can make with the games that you want to put on there. What would you put on your N64 Classic? Or did I get mine right? Am I dumb for some of the games? Because I bet there are some people that be like, nah, Jay, nah, screw the wrestling games. Who want wrestling games? And then I know there's some people that's like, nah, Jay, you know, they improved on Smash Bros. Who want the original Smash? Forget what you was talking about. So, alright, y'all. This your boy, Super JB, signing off saying, peace.